Chapter 35. Three Problems. The trio exclaimed aloud as they saw each scene. Go to your friends. When you are done, say the words of, Mother give us colour, and you shall return back here to me. Koby, Ruby, and Solomon all dove forward into their respective portals, which shut as they passed through, leaving the mother standing alone in the empty space. She glanced up at the giant rainbow-colored tree. She watched as a single multicolored leaf fell from the tree and gently floated down to the ground, landing at her feet. The mother picked up the leaf, her eyes filling with tears at the sight. The door is closing. I pray to you that he is enough, she said, regarding the tree. Solomon dove through the portal and crashed into Ecru, sending him sprawling onto the grey ground. Ecru swore and looked up, stunned at Solomon's appearance. Where did you come from? He said, alarmed. From your nightmares, said Solomon, walking over and charging up the yellow edge. I mean no harm. It was an accident. She slipped. He stammered and tried to kick away at the bloody rock nearby him. I saw what you did, Ecru, yelled Solomon, still holding the blast. You hit Cyber, and you were going to kill me as soon as I came out. Ecru's expression changed from innocent guilt to that of pure evil. Solomon let down the charge, shocked at what he was witnessing. I was, he said, salivating. Not before I had my way with her. She's a pretty little bird. I know you think so as well. I bet you wanted to. Enough, yelled Solomon, disgusted. Don't stare at me like that, no-big, spat Ecru. You don't deserve to even be talking to me. It's abhorrent that you are even here. Even worse that you're wearing the Reinhardt edge. It is a disgrace against all that Reinhardt stands for. You and the rest of the filth deserve to be purged. I want you to know I spent my whole life killing humans. My wealthy friends and I have made a sport of it. We'd snatch them up walking home and drop them from the top of the aviary and see who could make the biggest splat. He giggled madly. I only wish I got the chance to do it with you at the Sunball tournament, but you had to get those eagles involved. So we burnt down your hotel and left you a little note. He cackled once more. Solomon's anger could no longer be held back, screaming and charging forward, punching Ecru on the side of the head as hard as he could. The fat parrot bowled over, Solomon on top of him, and charging up the yellow edge. Ecru gasped and giggled, staring Solomon in the face. I want you to know it was me who killed Nana and framed Cockatoo Collins. You won't ever save him, no big. He'll rot atop the heights for the rest of his life. Ecru began to laugh, a psychotic, maniacal laugh. Solomon held the blast inside him, so desperate to kill Ecru and satisfy his anger. Kill me, laughed Ecru. Kill me! Solomon heard the words of His Holiness echo in his ears. Your feelings control you, Solomon. Do not act on their behalf. You must work harder at noticing them, not acting upon them. Solomon let down the charge and rolled off, a still laughing Ecru. You will answer for your crimes, said Solomon. Solomon blasted a giant hole in the ground next to Ecru and kicked him inside it. I have wings, no beak, roared Ecru hysterically. And I have a cage, replied Solomon. He charged up the yellow edge and released a blast that wrapped itself over the top of the hole, leaving a force field to trap Ecru within. He screamed and leapt up at the force field, shocking himself and dropping down into a heap. Stay there and rot, Solomon spat. He went over to where Cyber lay and gently tried to rouse her. She was unmoving and unresponsive. Solomon gently picked her up and said, Mother, give us colour, prompting a portal to appear and stepping through to the other side. Ruby jumped through the portal to a wall of titles and watchers surrounding Julian's airship. Flamber and Rusty had both been bound and had muzzles over their faces. Ruby saw no sign of Julian or his brother. At her appearance, the title soldiers began surging inwards. Flamber tried to wrench free of her bonds and yelled through her muzzle. Stop! Yelled a meek voice holding the titles in place. Ruby saw as Prince Garnet appeared through the titles, beaming his revolting grin at Ruby. My dear Miss Anne Key, what a pleasure it is to see you again, he said, bowing low. I've been so worried. Ruby just glared at him. Why so glum? Said the prince, noticing the expression. Do not tell me you're not pleased to see me. After our wonderful night in the ballroom, we were just beginning to get to know each other. Ruby brandished the gauntlet towards him. I'm happy to repeat the night's end for you. Come now, said the prince, undeterred. That is not very becoming of a future queen. Your manners will need correcting. What will our people say if such an undignified lady is to be my bride? I'll never be your anything, snapped Ruby. The prince studied Ruby for a moment and then burst out laughing. "You are so certain," he said with derision. "You would be wise to regard your present situation, Ruby. You are surrounded, and if you haven't noticed, your friends aren't in the best shape," he said, gesturing towards them, speaking out the side of his mouth. Ruby took her eyes off the prince towards Flamber and the dog, who were both staring at the ground. "What did you do to them?" she yelled, staring back at the prince, who was combing his hair. "Who, me? Oh no, this is not my doing," he said. "This is from Dad's girlfriend. Though I must say, it's quite interesting. These little black stones create a simulated experience." Ruby studied the two black stones placed at their feet, shining something into their open eyes. "You can put whatever you want in there. Fame, fortune, sex, or what happens when you cross the future king of Imperial." At that moment, Flamber and the dog began crying out in pain, their screams and whines piercing, before dropping to a still silence. I made it myself, and wanted you to have it, but I guess your friends can be first. They get to see, hear, taste, smell, and feel all the lovely little things I've put in there. Like just now, they've been to their first stop, the torture room. I wanted to take my time in that room, choose from all the interactive little bits and pieces. I think next, if I remember correctly, is the... A painful cry erupted once more from the still moving captives, before dropping into eerie silence once more. Shock pads. The prince smiled. Beautiful things they are. Some of the ladies enjoy it more than they should, I must say. Plenty more tools to go through, and then there's the other rooms of pain and punishment I cooked up. They're going to have so much fun in there. Ruby stared helplessly at Flamber and Rusty, wanting desperately to free them. She took a step towards them. "I do have a kill button if you'd just like to jump straight to the end," asked the prince. "Or if you prefer, you could surrender the edge to me now, come back to Imperial, serve under me as my queen, and never disobey me or my city ever again," he said with a smug grin. Ruby looked at Flamber and Rusty, and then down at the stones, and remembered how she travelled inside the grey. "You know," she said, "for an annoying little shit, you do have quite a pair of stones on you." The prince was flustered. "I'm supposed to know what that means?" "Let me show you," said Ruby, and summoned the two black stones to fly directly into the prince's groin, collapsing him onto the ground and breaking the spell. Ruby drove the red edge onto the ground and sent out earthquakes that swallowed the tidal soldiers in the cracks and burst fire through the cracks into the ground, burning them alive. She erupted magma from the ground, catching the watchers in the blast who had begun to aim for her, melting them instantly and cascading them down into the crags of the earth. Ruby glanced up. Before her there was only the prince, writhing on the ground, and Flamber and Rusty nearby. She raced over and freed their bonds. "Ruby," gasped Flamber, "it was a mistake coming back. You could have gotten captured." "It's nice to see you too. I couldn't just leave you behind." "You," began Flamber. "Thank you, Ruby," she said, offering her hand. "I'm more of a hugger," said Ruby, opening her arms. "Okay, just once," said Flamber. "Don't tell anyone." They embraced, and Flamber quickly returned to her serious disposition. "Where is Julian and his brother?" asked Ruby. "They took them back to the city for questioning and recovery." Ruby felt her heart ache a little at missing him, and hoped he was okay. A groan came from over nearby, catching her attention back to the prince, who was rolling around, holding his private parts. Ruby walked over to the prince and wrenched him up with the red gauntlet. "Seeing as you love yourself so much, why not be in your own fantasy?" said Ruby. She shoved the prince's face into the two black balls, and he instantly became transfixed by them, kneeling on the ground and beginning to drool. Ruby moved towards Flamber and Rusty, who were standing nearby. "What now?" said Flamber. "Where will we go?" Ruby smiled. "Come and see. Mother give us colour." Koby stepped through the portal to utter chaos. Shark people were attacking fish people, shells had been toppled or set on fire while rips crashed out of control around the city. Koby saw in the distance the Leviathan shell had people standing atop it, scratching expletives on the side with their weapons. Koby broke up the first fight he saw between a scaly fish girl and an octopus. Blasting the octopus away using the power of the edge, the octopus regarded him wide-eyed and then scurried away, leaving him alone. "Are you?" began Koby. "Oh my goddess, it's you!" "Lapis? You remembered me," she squealed. "I'm so sorry I said you were fat and hairy." Koby laughed. "That's okay. I am. I could definitely do with getting in better shape and tidying myself up." He refocused on the scene around him. "What's happened here, Lapis?" "The Queen let in all the sharks, snakes, and all the other monsters in from the outskirts, and they're attacking people." cried Lapis. "She says that Anne Cerune must cull the weak so that only the strong survive." "She's letting her own people kill each other," said Koby aghast. "The Ultras aren't doing anything to help us. She's ordered them to stay in the Blue Keep. You have to do something," she pleaded. "Does your camera also take videos?" asked Koby. "It does. Why? Can you live stream me? I want to send a message to all of Anne Cerune." "I can absolutely do that," she exclaimed. "Think of the number of affirmations." "Tell me when you've started recording," said Koby. "Okay," she paused for a moment, "and go." "Citizens of Anne Cerune," Koby said confidently, "the singularity has returned." Lapis gave an excited squeak as he spoke. "It is with great disappointment that I return to find your fair city tearing itself apart." Koby saw in the distance, video projections of himself began to appear across the city. "It's working," he thought to himself. "Your queen has failed in her duty," continued Koby, "as did King Sidon. Yet for all his faults, of which he freely admitted, he would never have let it come to this, where two people from the same nation are fighting with one another. And for what?" he said emphatically. "To prove who is the strongest? King Sidon says that strength comes from talking, not from fighting. So I say this to all of you. Lay down your weapons. Stop this needless violence, and let's talk to each other. Let's work together on rebuilding Anne Cerune, not tearing it down. I say this to Ella Major and the members of the council also. Your reward for doing so is return of the edge of Anne Cerune. I am coming to the council chambers and the keep in peace. I do not wish to see any more violence. This city has seen enough. Farewell." Koby nodded, and Lapis blinked a few times before rushing forward and embracing him. "You were amazing." "Thank you, Lapis. I hope enough people heard it." "Oh, I think they did." She connected with his mind link and showed him the video. The number of views, comments, and reactions was in the billions. "Right then," said Koby, growing a little nervous. "I better go to the council chambers." "Goodbye, Singularity," she said. Koby skated across the city. Where he went came cheers from people of all kinds. Weapons were thrown down and people were embracing. Fires were being put out. Homes were being right-sided. Some did not cheer as they saw Koby, slinking back into the shadows, or some brave enough to hurl abuse his way, only to be overwhelmed by the majority nearby. Koby quickly came to the council chambers and moved inside. "So the great singularity returns," said a familiar voice. Koby glanced up and saw the Eel Chancellor staring down at him from the elevated seat, his appearance haggard and clothes torn. "What happened to you?" said Koby, shocked at his appearance. "It was a mutiny," said the Chancellor. "Those traitors who wanted to side with you were all locked up while we," he sniffed the air, "those who are right, remain. You have lost. The people don't want civil war. They want freedom." "Don't speak of what we need here, boy," snapped the Chancellor. "You are not one of us." "Yet I wear the edge of Anne Cerune," countered Koby. "That meant a lot to the royalty of the Blue City." "You think you're royalty?" smiled the Eel. "Well, I have a royal gift for you." The Eel brandished a trident and aimed it at Koby. Yet suddenly he lifted it up and heaved it at the depressed dome atop the roof. The glass erupted as the trident connected, the water bursting into the council chamber. Koby stared up as the giant shape moved across the roof at speed and dove through the opening and landed upon the dais floor. "I wonder how the singularity tastes to the octo-shark," said the Eel Councillor, laughing and fleeing the chamber as the giant creature lifted itself up before Koby. It was several meters tall with the body of an octopus, yet its mouth was a shark-like head with many eyes wrapping all around it. It leapt towards Koby, who skated away, opening mouth gnashing at thin air. It sent its many arms flying towards Koby, hoping to snare him, sending the elevated seats tumbling down to the ground and smashing them to pieces. It leapt towards him and collided with the pillars, creating further deluges of water into the council chamber. An arm knocked Koby off balance, and the octo-shark leapt forward, mouth open, about to claim its prize, when Koby jumped back, just in the nick of time, the shark biting down upon the dais floor, its mouth fitting perfectly around it. Koby waited for the shark to resume its hunt, but it stayed attached to the dais floor. Koby saw its teeth were sunk into the cavity that made the dais go up and down, its arms frantically slapping at the floor. Koby seized his moment to escape as the roof began to cave in from the water, huge slabs of stone falling from the roof. As he exited the chambers, he felt a giant rumble and heard the sound of a splat as something was squished. He skated on and watched from afar as the council chamber's shell collapsed in and of itself, a burst of seawater and dust billowing out from its ruin.